Good evening. This is the Channel 1 Evening News. Today became the greatest test so far of the stability of the Commonwealth of Independent States. The bone of contention at the meeting in Minsk is the future of the armed forces. The Russian government, after 100 days, from free prices to private property. At the same time, there is a new threat of strikes by air traffic controllers. The Vorkuta miners are discussing their situation at a special Congress. In Shusha region of Nagorno-Karabakh, the bodies of 11 Russian soldiers have been found. In Baku today, there was a meeting of the Russian-speaking population. The Supreme Soviet of Nagorno-Karabakh is asking for help. Will our cosmonauts return to Earth from their orbit? Earthly problems in space. Now 30 minutes of the day's news. A country cannot be strong without an army, because the army will now determine to a great extent how peaceful and stable our life will be in the near future. Therefore, today in Minsk, the issue was being resolved not only of a unified army, the stability and future of our Commonwealth was also at stake. The third meeting in Minsk began today at the initiative of Marshal Shapachnikov's staff with a military air show at one of the Republic's military bases. We can only guess at the political motives of this debut, but the meeting itself began as a logical continuation. It was almost fully devoted to military issues. I can reassure the world community by saying that no participants in the meeting rejected the concept of a unified control of forces of strategic deterrence. The same people have their finger on the nuclear button. Many experts accompanying the top brass here at the summit meeting said that the recent events have not brought the former republics closer together. The optimism of the documents being signed is growing from meeting to meeting, but the deepening crisis wipes out various agreements on cooperation between the republics. Officially, no member has moved away from the Commonwealth of Independent States, but a schism on military issues could catalyze this process. At one pole are the 8 states who are willing to give their forces over to a unified military command, and at the other end of the spectrum, Ukraine, Moldova, and Azerbaijan, who wish to take the former Soviet armed forces on their territories into their own control. The development of the events here has probably moved the participants here to conclude an agreement to refrain from using or threatening to use force. The Commonwealth, of course, the one which we would like to create, is not satisfactory yet, because we do not have the sanctions and strict control over the implementation of our decisions. And when we prepare specific documents and then we discuss them, the specifics somehow disappear. I'm personally dissatisfied with the fact that from meeting to meeting we seem to be postponing the decision of specific problems. According to the information we have, only several of the 14 planned treaties were signed today. The next summit meeting of the CIS heads of state will be March 20th in Kiev. Tomorrow in Minsk there will be negotiations between Yeltsin and Kravchuk, which will have great significance, as much significance as the meeting today. While the politicians decide the fate of the army is trying itself to resolve its problems. Last night, 6 crews of military aircraft made an unauthorized flight from the city of Starokonstantino in Ukraine. The pilots brought the banner of their military unit with them. From Belarusia, they were taken to the Moscow airport Chkalovsky. The pilots of many Air Force units in the Ukraine declared in January that they have no desire to take a Ukrainian oath and warned that they will independently fly to Russia. The Interfax news agency reports the results of public opinion polls. Their participants were asked the question, has the threat of the use of nuclear weapons increased or diminished since the collapse of the Soviet Union? 38% consider that the threat is greater, 24% believe that nothing has changed, and 4% of the Russian respondents say the threat has diminished. The Russian government began its course 100 days ago. The main accomplishment since that time is to part with the illusion that the market will bring quick prosperity to us all. Vice Premier Gaidar has infallible logic. The treasury is empty, no one is giving loans, so the only way to get more money is to print them, and this means increasing hyperinflation and raising prices. We must live by our own means, but this is not possible for everyone, including people who have a decent wage. At the same time, people are expressing disillusionment with the process and are reluctant to get involved in reform. Professor Grushin's opinion polling service reports that only 34% believe the great masses are involved in the reform process, 50% said no, and the rest had difficulty answering. Only 46% of the Russian population believes the Russian government is capable of carrying out reforms, but this is more than believe that the government is incapable. The Federation of Russian and Ukrainian and Belarusian air traffic controllers says that there will be a strike if its demands are not met by February 21st. Its demands include a 36-hour working day and a 46 working day vacation every year. They also demand that the government do not transfer air traffic control functions to an intergovernmental aviation company. The third U.S. military aircraft in recent days arrived with humanitarian assistance at Yerevan's airport today. In the framework of the Operation Hope plan, it brought 60 tons of food intended exclusively for rural and regional hospitals. This aid arrives just in time because the collapse of the economy in the Republic cannot be stopped because of the energy crisis. The situation with gas supply is a little bit better in recent days, although no gas is coming from Azerbaijan. Georgian transfer lines are increasing by up to 1 million cubic meters of gas. The government commission has permitted several more enterprises to open tomorrow because of this. That's the way it is in Armenia. In Karabakh, things are much different because the war continues. Last night, Stepanakert came under fire. Expert commissions from the Transcaucasus military district confirmed that the Azerbaijani side is using modern artillery units, which cause mass destruction. During the summit meeting in Minsk, the Nagorno-Karabakh Supreme Soviet issued another appeal for help. This was a report from our correspondent in Yerevan, and now a report from Baku. Today, there in the Republican Palace, there was a meeting of the Russian-speaking population of Azerbaijan. We are part of the Azerbaijani people. This was the slogan of this forum of Russian-speaking people in the Republic. The scientific intelligentsia, factory workers, doctors, teachers, and pensioners said that the Russian population interprets the events in Nagorno-Karabakh as its own personal pain. The war in Karabakh is not an inter-ethnic conflict, but a territorial claim of one republic on another. Today, the Russian parliament held a joint session. They amended the law on payments for land. There was also a decision to call the 6th Congress of People's Deputies of Russia on April 6th. In Ukraine, a state commission on nuclear security has been created. U.S. Secretary of State James Baker arrived in the Ural Mountains today. He will meet with the heads of the administration of Sverdlovsk and Chelyabinsk region, and also with nuclear scientists. On March 10th in Brussels, the Commonwealth of Independent States countries will be accepted into NATO, according to the German Wave radio station. For the last time, the USSR state prizes have been awarded for 1991 in the areas of science and technology. The diplomas and gold stars were received by 120 specialists. The Lenin and state prizes will no longer be given in science and technology. The Northern Fleet Administration reports that on February 11th, an atomic torpedo submarine crashed in a training mission as it entered the Kola Bay in 22 meters of water. The damage was insignificant and there were no casualties. An investigation is underway. The Speaker of the Abkhazian Supreme Soviet, Vladislav Aljimba, said today that he had a telephone conversation with Tengiz Sigua, during which they discussed the conditions for the withdrawal of the National Guard from Abkhazia. They said it is possible that there will be a meeting between Tengiz Sigua and Vladislav Aljimba. Today, the Abkhazian parliament adopted a message to the government, the provisional government of Georgia, in which they said that the mission of the Georgian National Guard is over in Abkhazia and that their presence is not promoting stability in the area and they should be immediately withdrawn. The situation in Grozny, I hope that our director Igor Solovyov will show our correspondent's report.